because that will allow us to send the files over the network instead of using the Advanced File Explorer. Full trust, so we can go ahead and download that zip file. We also want to download nc.x. So netcat for Windows, I downloaded the 64-bit version. So nc60 for .x, you're on 32-bit. Just download nc.x and you should be good there. So with those things downloaded, what we need to do, if we open up the folder for collateral damage remote, so we've got the game script autosave network.txt, and then we have a version for rubber duckies. So the issue, of course, is getting the text copied over for the exploit onto the game script app on the Xbox, because you can't type it in with a controller. It's just way too much text. So they have a few different options. One option is to use a rubber ducky or a Raspberry Pi. That is set up as a rubber ducky, and then you can just supply it, all of the text here, onto your rubber ducky. Plug that into your Xbox when you're actually on the game script app, and you've selected the text to start typing. And what will happen is the Raspberry Pi or the rubber ducky will start putting in all of the text for you for the exploit, and you just wait for it to finish. That's one option. If you don't have a rubber ducky or a Raspberry Pi Pico, there's a few other options you have. If you have the Notepad application installed, which we covered in a previous video, you can use that. Just copy the game script autosave network.txt onto a USB
Plug the
USB drive into your Xbox, and then run the Notepad application. From there, you can open up that file on the USB, the text file with the exploit code in it. And then all you need to do is select the option to select all, and then select the option to copy it. And then you can paste it into the game script application on the Xbox. So that is another option. You can also use the Advanced File Explorer Full Trust version to copy the code over. And of course, the method that I would recommend is the Android method, because you can also use this for the whole network setup as well. So essentially, this method does not require any additional applications on your Xbox. And it also does not require a rubber ducky or Raspberry Pi Pico. So with this method, all you need to do is get an Android device, and then just download the collateral damage exploit onto your Android device and extract it onto that device. Once you have it extracted, the next step is to head into your settings and make sure you disable the Wi-Fi connectivity and disable the mobile data as well on that device so that it has no access to the internet. And then enable the mobile hotspot so that you'll be able to connect to it on your Xbox. At that point, you can then run an application called which you can download from the Google Play Store. And what you want to do is run this application and then select a file to open. And the file you're gonna select is going to be the game script autosave network.txt file that you downloaded. Once you have that selected, you can start the web share, and that will host it on the Android device. So you can see there it's hosting on 216.8.43.1:111. At that point, we can switch over to our Xbox, and then of course, set up the internet connection on the Xbox to connect to our mobile hotspot. So the big thing with this is that you do not want your Xbox to be connected to the internet, because then you might get prompted to do a system update. And you may lose access to the game script application. They may revoke the license. So it's very important that you keep your Xbox so that you can keep access to that game script application. So we're connecting to the mobile hotspot, which is not connected to the internet. So this will just give us local access. So from here, once we're connected up to our Android device on our Xbox, we can then run the Microsoft Edge application on the Xbox. You should be able to find it in the apps section. If you go to the game library, you'll find it in the apps section. Run that browser, and once you have the browser we can head to that same IP address one, 9to.dot168.dot for 3.1 in this case with colon, and that will take us over to the web share that is hosted on our Android device. From there, we can then select the option to open it in a new tab, and that will give us all of the exploit code. And then you can just highlight it from the beginning all the way down to the end. So highlight the entire script, the entire exploit. And then once you let go and you've highlighted it all, it will give you the option to copy it. So we're gonna copy all of that text, and then simply launch our game script application. And once we have the game script application we can then use the option to paste all. And that will paste all of the code in there. So the other big benefit of using an Android device here is that we can also connect our computer to that same mobile hotspot. So we can connect to that same hotspot on our computer, and that way our computer and our Xbox are on the same network, so that they can communicate with each other. Because the way that this exploit works is that the Xbox creates a reverse shell that can be accessed on the computer remotely over the network, so that you'll be able to access your Xbox. So that is how this exploit works. And having an Android device makes that a lot easier. Now the other option, of course, if you don't have an Android device, to create a mobile hotspot or a phone you can use for that anything. You can just use a spare router that obviously you don't have connected to the internet. And just use that and connect your Xbox and your computer to that. A router so that they'll be able to communicate with each other, okay? So now that the computer and the Xbox are connected to local network, they'll be able to communicate with each other. So we can now get things set up to run the exploit. So we need to run the collateral damage payload server here to send the run.x in the stage to payload over to the Xbox. So we're gonna right-click in this folder and open in terminal. And then we're just gonna enter the following command here. /payload_server win x60 for .x stage 2. And then stage to .bin -run. And then run.x. So that is the command that we want to enter there. And we're gonna press enter. And it should say that the server is listening. So once that's running, the next thing is we need to run our netcat command. So we're gonna right-click in the same folder as our nc60 for .x and open in terminal, and then we're just going to enter this command /nc60 for .x space -lvnp space 7070. And we're gonna press enter on that. And it should be listening on any IP address on port 7070. Now, if you do run into an error where it says that the port is in use, you'll just need to terminate whatever application is currently using that port so that you'll be able to run this on port 7070. You can do that by basically running a command prompt as administrator. And then you can type in at netstat -a and -b. And that will list a bunch of applications and what ports they're using. You just find one that's using 7070 and find the X name. Let's say it's node X here. And then what you can do is, you can just terminate the application that's using that port by typing in task kill /im. And then the name of the application. And then /f and press enter. That will terminate the application, and you'll then have the port free to run the command here to listen on 7070. Okay. So the last thing we want to do is open up another terminal just window to get the IP address of our computer by typing in config and pressing enter. And that will grab all of the network adapters. So find the network adapter that's connecting to that mobile hotspot or the router that you have the Xbox connected to. So in this case, it's my wireless LAN adapter, and the IP address is 9/168.168.1.3.1. So then we're gonna switch back to the game script application on our Xbox. And what we want to do is select the game script itself, as I'll highlight the actual code itself. So you have the blue border around it. And then press Y on the controller so you can start typing stuff in. Hold down the B button to get to the IP address, where it says var host IP equals, and then it has your IP here. So what you want to do is replace your IP here with the actual IP address of your computer, which in my case was 19.2.8.43.149. So now that we have all of that done, we should be ready to actually run the exploit. So we hold down the X button and press RB to switch to Windows. And then scroll down to the code run window. So show code run window, select that option. And then we want to run code once and press X. And that will run the code. And what we should see happen here is once it's done loading, it currently says current frame 0. That will go to 1 once it's finished executing. So don't touch anything on the Xbox until it goes from current frame 0 to current frame 1. And then if we switch back on over to our computer again, we're just gonna wait here to see if we get anything popping up. So obviously this exploit isn't perfectly stable like most exploits. Sometimes it's going to work first try. Other times it's gonna take a few attempts. So we'll see if we get lucky here. If it does start to work, we should see some more information popping up here on the payload server, and if it works successfully, we should get the reverse shell popping up here on this window. Okay. Here we go. You can see here it says sending run.x. Connection established, and we are attempting to find kernel base. Oh, unfortunately, it failed. So this is one of the ways that you can tell it failed. If the game script application itself crashed, which in this case it did, it's now exited out of the game script application. So that was a fail. So what we need to do is hold down our power button here and restart the console. So we'll do a restart, and once it reboots, we just run the game script app again and launch the exploit. Okay, here we go. So this time, second time lucky here. There we did get a successful connection. As you can see, we have access to the reverse shell. So we have remote access here to our Xbox. So what we can do is we can type in dir to list the directories. And you can see we have all of the directories right here. So we have remote access, successful access to our Xbox using this exploit. But unlike other applications like the Advanced File Explorer, Full Trust, which has access to the file system of the Xbox, we can also do things like create new files. We can, edit files. We can potentially run programs that are on the Xbox, which should open up the door to some interesting stuff. We also have access to the licenses. So I can change the drive to the 0 drive, which contains the licenses here, as you can see. And then if I change directory to the licenses of folder, we should be able to take a look at one of these license files. So I've got one here for vermin type and then I can just, take a look at the actual file and get the contents of those files. So we can access the contents of most of the files there that are on the Xbox and that drive. Should hopefully open up things like potentially gaining access to save files, as well as gaining the ability to dump our game files, as well as something else we should be able to do. And then on top of that, we can install homebrew and emulators and get those running in retail mode. As well, that's actually already possible. All of this stuff will be streamlined eventually and made easier. There's already an SCP server in the works, which will make it easier to transfer files across. So there's already quite a bit of development going on at the moment. But this initial release does say that it's more for developers. It's not really been streamlined for end users at this point, so yeah. It's not in, the perfect state yet. But it will eventually get there. And if you want me to cover how to actually install, I'll probably show some footage right now of installing an emulator on the Xbox here using this exploit. So I'll definitely, show that, and if you want me to cover that in another video, I will go ahead and make a video that shows you how to do that. But things will be streamlined eventually. This is just the initial setup to get it up and running in its initial phase, so yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this video or found the information useful. If you did, please leave